The calm night breeze caused the tips of her hair to flutter, passing with gentle gusts over her skin. The scent of leaves from the surrounding park provided a pleasant aroma. Her finger, awaiting command, was firmly secured on the trigger. Her foot rested against a tree branch, securely fixing her seated position. All the muscles in her body were tense, like a tight spring, and reflected in the scope of the sniper rifle was the modest interior of a small church. The once modest temple interior now looked even more desolate. The room looked as if it had suffered a catastrophe. Numerous potholes covered the floor, which was littered with stone fragments. The pews could hardly fulfill their purpose now. Most were reduced to charred remnants, while others had turned into a pile of splinters. Only half of the altar's cross remained. The other half blocked part of the secret passage beneath the altar. In the center of the sacred space, two figures sat, leaning against one of the columns. The boy was covered in burns all over his body, and blood streamed from his left arm, encased in a red gauntlet. Two through-and-through cauterized wounds, as if from a red-hot spear, were visible on his legs. The girl's face showed alarm, and she was shouting something at him, while her hands emitted a bright green light that was closing the wounds on his legs. Looming over them was a third figure, a girl with wings as black as the darkness itself. Her face was contorted in a maniacal smirk, and a spear of light flickered in one hand, aimed at the boy. The youth was breathing heavily, but his eyes burned with determination to give up his life, but to protect the one behind him. The winged girl closed the distance and raised the spear above her head. The boy's gauntlet shone with a bright red light, and he rose to his feet. Using the last of his strength, the boy lunged toward her, but the spear was heading straight for him. At that same moment, the finger on the trigger slipped. Pew! A brief gunshot, suppressed by the silencer, echoed in the space. The moment the girl's spear practically reached the youth, her legs suddenly gave way and she lost her balance. The boy instantly took advantage of this chance, and his fist, wrapped in the glowing gauntlet, crashed into the woman's beautiful face with all its might. Crash! The blow was so powerful that the brickwork was completely breached. The girl flew out of the newly formed hole and went limp, showing no signs of life. Tanya peered out from the scope. A feeling of anger refused to subside as she watched this parody of a fight. He was only saved by a miracle, and despite the enemy's idiotic behavior, she still had to help. Tanya took a deep breath. Well, all right. Putting aside a couple of outright stupidities, compared to what he was capable of before, there is some progress, though still far from her acceptable level, a professional soldier. Never mind. The important thing is that the nun is alive and well. Tanya once again monitored the events. Kiba and Koneko emerged from the basement. And where, they pray tell, were they while he was playing a parody of a drunken orangutan? She watched them attend to him, noting his sacred gear. It was strong, but incredibly inconvenient, only for close combat, zero defense, and a massive stamina drain. Following them, two more figures emerged from the underground passage, Reyes Gremory and Himejima Aquino. Damn it, teleportation again? I'm so sick of it! Suddenly, a rustling of bushes sounded nearby. Tanya turned her head and spotted Yoshi's head, which was level with her. His dark armor was imposing. Ani-san, I finished. The slightly slow voice of the Death Knight completely ruined the impressive image. Next, a miniature figure of the fallen angel, Reynare, appeared in the giant's hand. Her mouth was muffled, her black wings beat against the armor, and the poor girl couldn't utter a sound. Excellent! I've secured the tongue I needed. Coo-coo-coo. Were there any problems, Yoshi? Did you avoid detection? Report. It's all fine, Ani-san. Rias-senpai and Himejima-senpai took care of the opponents, then left by teleportation. The man did not survive, but she tried to run away, and I did as you ordered. Yes, yes. Well done. Drain her until she's so weak she'll only dream of escaping. Yoshi's energy absorption ability was incredibly useful. Tanya continued watching the events in the church. Koneko dragged Reinare's body into the room and they began to talk. The bracelet on Tanya's hand flashed gold and their conversation reached her. Now do you understand who you messed with, fallen angel Reinare? This boy's sacred gear is one of the Longinus, the boosted gear of the Welsh Dragon Emperor. Its power is so immense, it is capable of killing even God. At that moment, Tanya's thoughts stalled. Had she heard correctly? God, God, God! The finger on the trigger suddenly began to tremble, instinctively pressing down. The scope shifted by itself to Rias Gremory's head. Such anger seized Tanya, the kind she hadn't felt since her last encounter with Being X. It instinctively flared up in her soul. A sacred gear capable of killing God? You vile creature! Gremory, you vile wretch! Her body instinctively tried to pull the trigger, but a whirlwind of rational conclusions desperately tried to suppress the instinct. She couldn't do this now. Too many unknown factors. Consequences unknown. Her brother wouldn't like it. Ani, son, are you all right? Yoshi's voice reached her. Ani, son, I don't know what made you so angry, but whatever decision you make, Yoshi will always follow you. These words, completely out of context, sobered her senses. With enormous willpower, Tanya finally removed her trembling finger from the trigger and set the rifle aside. No, now is not the time. Not the time. Not yet. But I won't let this go. Gremory. Static crackled over the radio. Zero calling Goddess. Over. Commander, how do you read? Goddess is online. Report the situation. Several enemy units attempted to break through the perimeter, but we managed to detain them. We only had trouble with one. Some kid in a priest robe and white hair offered serious resistance, but reinforcements arrived in time, and we subdued him. Your orders? Cuckoo. Father freed. Tanya once again pressed her eye to the rifle scope, continuing to observe the Gremory group's actions. Gremory finally finished off the winged creature, and they began to leave. Zero, the following are heading your way. The princess, the pervert, and the saint. Allow them through the perimeter. Immediately afterward, proceed to the scene of action. It's time to gather the harvest. Affirmative, Goddess. Understood. Tanya tossed the rifle into her inventory and jumped down from the tree. She checked the captured Reinaire, who was now listless from Yoshi's energy absorption. With these thoughts, Tanya headed toward the church. The sound of engines was heard, and the silhouettes of fighters in camouflage began to appear from the shadows of the trees. Well, despite some discrepancies in the plan, the operation was successful. Very much so. Now, it's time to collect the prizes and interrogate the prisoners. It's time to begin. Suddenly, a flash of bright green light illuminated the area. A magical construct appeared in the clearing not far from the entrance to the temple. Tanya immediately jumped aside. The fighters hid back into the shadows of the trees. The silhouette of the giant stepped forward, blocking the view. Tanya peeked out from behind him, looking at the unexpected guests. A young man, about 17, glared at their group with a contemptuous and angry look. He was surrounded by a crowd of armed girls numbering more than a dozen. The young man spoke. His voice conveyed, "And who the hell are you guys?"